Hi, Bother Brigade. Here's what's bothering me today. This isn't the first time I've talked about what we're going to talk about on this channel, but it has been a while, and that's because there's been some really rather concerning new developments in what I want to talk about today, which is the right eating itself. Now, on the surface, yeah, kind of funny, I get it. But it's also a sign of a deeply troubling series of events that probably some of these people don't even realize that they're participating in, or realize that others themselves were the ones to foment this kind of terribleness. It's the whole, reaping versus sowing meme that we've just seen forever and a day on the internet by this point. So, of course, in the wake of the Supreme Court not immediately validating Trump's awful words, we had people say things like, "Oh, what do you mean? Like, Trump gave you those jobs. You should have loyalty to him. We need to, hang these Supreme Court justices for not siding with dear leader," right? And then other Republicans who don't toe the party line or are not perceived to toe the party line, even though they very much do, if that perception is not upheld in the eyes of the frothing mad MAGA crowd, then unfortunately, those Republicans like Mitt Romney, who's the other guy, like Cornyn, who's currently working with the Democrats for gun control reform, these kind of Republicans, or rhinos, Republicans in name only, suddenly become the target of attack by their own party members. Even though, again, like Mitt Romney and this John Cornyn guy or whoever are very much right-wing. And that brings us to the new developments, which is that I saw very recently a couple videos, and unfortunately we are going to watch them here, and fair warning, they are a little distressing in terms of being a bit confrontational, and also just saying really terrible things, and they're videos involving Ben Shapiro and his family, and Dan Crenshaw, and then also a really unhinged election ad from Missouri. So, unfortunately, and I can't believe I live in this goddamn timeline, I now have to defend Ben Shapiro for a hot second. Now, Ben Shapiro is a garbage human being who doesn't know what he's talking about 90% of the time. It's like a clock, broken clock is right twice a day, right? That's Ben Shapiro. Now, unfortunately, recently, this happened.
It's great to see you. Why did you give a 45-minute speech about me at Stanford, and you won't even look in my direction? Come on, I'm
hey.
here only with facts and logic.
Hey, let him cross, man.
Let him cross.
I know you're with your family, but I can't get you anywhere else. A 45-minute speech?
Hey, let him cross.
Wow. Well, that's our free speech warrior, everybody.
That pasty little gremlin is Nick Fuentes, to be charitable, let's call him a absolute dumpster fire, but he's basically just like a fascist incel. That's what he is. He has his devoted following. They're incredibly toxic and, again, incredibly fascist. And there they were confronting Ben Shapiro because apparently Ben Shapiro talked about Nick Fuentes a bit at a speech in Stanford like a while ago. And he didn't like that. So he's accosting him in public with his family. Now, a part of me is like, well, now Ben kind of maybe knows how it feels a little bit, but at the same time, he's there with his family, his wife, his little girl, and like the baby. I don't know if the baby is his son or another daughter, because I don't follow or care about Ben Shapiro that much. So there he is being accosted by, again, not just one person, right, but like a group of people. But even those people can be like, whoa, hey man, come on, he's with his family. So at least there's maybe some decency. However, unfortunately, that's not the only part of the story here. And unfortunately, Nick Fuentes got what he wanted, right? He could just turn around and say, oh, well, Mr. I'll debate anybody is too afraid to debate. And like, it's just more terribleness, right? So apparently, if you're not, right-wing enough, or if you dare to insult or say something about another right-winger that they don't like, oh, it's gloves off and they're going to come for you, including when you're with your family in public. Lovely timeline we live in. And unfortunately, this brings us to Dan Crenshaw.
I Patch McCain. Hey, I Patch McCain. Look at I Patch McCain right here. You're a rhino. You're a globalist. You're a globalist rhino. You're a globalist rhino. Kid, you're a globalist rhino. I passed McCain! I passed McCain! I passed McCain!
You're a globalist right now. You're a globalist right now.
Now, again, Dan Crenshaw is a absolute scumbag. Now, lots of people say he's a war hero because he served, I think it was in the U.S. Navy SEALs. That's why, of course, he has his eye patch, because he was wounded in battle. So, you know, there's a lot of people who want to celebrate him for his service, and okay, fine. But in terms of what this man says and supports every day in Congress is pretty atrocious and deeply concerning and messed up in a great many ways, especially if you're a leftist. This man has basically always been towing the party line. He loved Trump, supported a bunch of like the most nefarious aspects of Trump in his presidency. He has also just said and done absolutely terrible, ghoulish things outside of course, you know, his military service, right? So he's by no means, you know, like a really good person, nor is he clearly, you know, not a Republican, right? And yet there's that person calling him a rhino, a Republican in name only, despite this guy basically being just about as far-right Republican as you can get. But because he said or did or supported one thing that goes against someone's, you know, deeply held core values, everything else, the, you know, 900 other things that they would agree on suddenly goes out the window, and Dan Crenshaw is an enemy of the people all of a sudden. And unfortunately, now this brings us to this absolutely unhinged Missouri ad.
Eric Greitens, Navy SEAL, and today we're going rhino hunting. The rhino feeds on corruption and is marked by the stripes of cowardice. Join the MAGA crew, get a rhino hunting permit. There's no bagging limit, no tagging limit, and it doesn't expire until we save our country.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack with that. First off, okay, you're going rhino hunting, and so you're basically going to, like, what, hunt and kill your political opponents? That's kind of concerning. It's also very concerning with the whole military getup and everything. And he's smiling about talking about, you know, hunting rhinos. And crucially, a lot of people might miss this, but there's something he says that does stick out to me, which is where he says there's no bagging limit, no tagging limit. In hunting, there is a term about tagging and bagging. It has to do with like usually, at least here in Canada, I'm not entirely sure about the States, but when you go hunting, you have to buy permits for certain animals that you wish to hunt. Sometimes they even host a lottery because there's only so many tokens available, or tags rather. And if you are out hunting and like a game warden or equivalent shows up and says, hey, what y'all got here? And you have to show them, okay, look, like, here's our pheasant, here's the geese. Yeah, look, we got the tags for the geese. See right here. That's basically how it works. And bagging is like, some people like to use hunting bags for carving up, like, you know, quartering, say, an elk or something. And you put it in a big bag, you carve it out on your quad or your ATV or however you choose to call it, back to your hunting camp. Like that's, and then you divvy it up with people, so you're bagging it away. Like that can also be a way of interpreting it. So that's the hunting term. Tagging and bagging in a military context refers to putting people in body bags and providing the lovely little toe tags to identify the corpses. That is the military jargon for bagging and tagging, different to the hunting term of, say, having a tag and, you know, bagging meat as opposed to a person. So, with all these things put together, on top of, again, aforementioned earlier shit fuckery from these people and this crowd in general, it is a deeply unsettling thing to be seeing, much as it's kind of like, okay, well, you reap what you sowed. So, kind of don't feel too bad for them. But it is still a very disturbing trend that even the most right wing of the Republicans and the alt-right are now also being attacked from somehow an even further right version, with others, including this guy running for like Senate in Missouri. They are threatening actual honest to God violence with them in the name of saving the country. It's deeply unhinged, deranged nonsense. But unfortunately, in America, these people have access to guns and can just walk about willy-nilly and not face repercussions for their actions, because that's what conservatives have been asking for down there for a long time. Freedom from consequences. And so unfortunately, this is just kind of the natural endpoint of this terrible, awful series of shitty events. Like, it is really starting to have some really big Night of the Long Knives energy down in America right now, where the right, and sure, there's a part of me that is kind of, laughing at this situation because of the whole aspect of, oh, well, look, they're fighting each other, and never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake or when they're fighting with each other. Sure, okay, but again, in terms of the bigger picture, they're fighting over each other about who's not right-wing enough. And so they're trying to accelerate as far to the right as possible, threatening potential bodily harm to others who they see as not right-wing enough. It's incredibly disturbing fascist shit. And as we've seen with already more mass shootings than we can count, this is not a recipe for success in the future. In fact, we're very much on the way to a very dark nightmare of history repeating. And that is what's bothering me today.